All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Ken McBee joining you from sunny Phoenix, Arizona. It's a cool temperature day. I think it's a measly what?
109. It's
Oh,
beautiful.
gosh. Who wouldn't love that?
Yeah.
Right?
It's a dry heat.
This is the time that we usually are making fun of people. These are the 3 months where we don't, right? And we say, hey, I'm sure you're enjoying it where you're at. So, but hey, today I've got Brett Stewart with me. He's joining us with our owner group. So we've got a lot of questions going to come to you about owners and how to be an owner and what it's like and some other things. We'll, if you'll drop your questions in the chat as we go on, we'll try to answer all the live questions we can within the next 30 minutes. And if anything we don't answer, we'll go ahead and respond to you, over the chat. Also, too, any ideas on what you'd like to see in the near future? This is about the communication to our folks. So we want to make sure that you drop a message in the chat on like what you'd like to see in the future. We do have our executive live coming up next week. So look for that where you can ask all of our executives any question you want. So
awesome.
within reason.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just go ahead and get started. Brett, tell me, if I'm a company driver at Swift, let's start with that part.
Sure.
And I've been here for a little while. Like, what's that look like? How do I become an owner?
Yeah, and I want to start first with why you want to become an owner. And I think that's the number one question you want to ask yourself is, have you ever thought about being a small business owner? Because you might be an excellent driver, you might meet all the qualifications, and this could be the step you want to take next in your life. But if you ask any business owner, they'll tell you they've worked harder than they've ever worked being a business owner. So I would first and foremost ask that you reach out to or connect with an owner operator at a truck stop or at a terminal and start to pick their brain a little bit and make sure that this is the path that you want to take, because it's not the easiest, but I will tell you it's very rewarding. And at Swift, we have a lot of resources available for you to ensure that you're going to be successful. And
so if I decide I wanted to be an owner, or I thought, hey, I do want to take that step to be a small business owner, is there some kind of education, a class or something that you would suggest?
Yeah, there is. One of those classes that you can take is through a vendor of ours called ATBS. They have a full course that you can purchase and walk through, and it talks into the details of owning your own business and specifically owning your own tractor and what those expenses are that you'll have to get familiarized with and what to expect out there. But one of the benefits at Swift is we do allow what's called the Fleet Exchange Program or FX program. So if you're a current company driver with us and you really like the tractor that you're in, we do have the option for you to lease that tractor through our interstate equipment leasing program. And you could then lease to own that tractor. And I think that's a great first step. I think as you ask any independent contractor out there today, that's where they started. We all start somewhere. If you wanted to start in another place, you could purchase your own truck outside of Swift and then lease it to Swift. You could also, you don't have to lease the tractor you're driving today. You could lease one of the tractors we have available. So there are a ton of options. I would just encourage you to call one of our owner operator lease advisors, and we can throw that number at the bottom of the page, and they're going to know what's best and be able to answer a lot more of those questions for you.
And those lease advisors are placed around the United States, right?
Yeah.
And those folks are there to help you. You could even walk in. So if you'd rather talk in person, you could walk in and talk to those.
Yeah, we currently have 8 across the country at our major terminals, but we have the 800 or 888 number for you to call, and someone will pick up and be able to answer those for you.
Now, there are some states that I can't be an owner in.
Correct.
So I don't know if we possibly have a list. If not, we'll make sure we post it if somebody has that question. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
So tell me a little why you can't be an owner in those states, and what do you do?
Yeah, so there are 10 states that it is very difficult to operate in as an independent contractor. And so from our research and history, we want to do what's best for you in your business. And that's not the best place to start from our experience. And so just really due to some of the state regulations and the impact the state has on independent contractors in those states, we just don't advise you to go that route. Now, you still have that option. It's just not through Swift and under our authority. But I would still encourage you, if you're really interested and you live in one of those states or have a CDL out of one of those states, please pursue it. It just wouldn't be through us.
And you could always move to one of the neighboring states and then become one, right?
Yeah. Like beautiful Arizona.
Yeah.
It's 109. I mean, you never have to dry your clothes. You just
what
walk
could
outside.
go wrong?
Serious.
Makes a lot of sense. So, you talked about you can bring a truck so I can purchase a truck from, an outside vendor and bring it in, or I can bring one, or I can get one from here. How do I decide like a new and older one? Like even our older ones aren't too old, right?
Yeah.
So kind of what's the options?
Yeah, what I would say is you got to go back to what works for you. What is your business model? What can you afford? Just like if you were to purchase a car from a lot, are you looking for used or would you rather a brand new? One of the benefits of brand new is it comes with the full manufacturer's warranty on it, just like a brand new car would. So that's 3 years, 350,000 miles on the engine and chassis, and some of them exceed and go up to 450. And they'll come with a higher payment. But the theory is, yes, you have a higher payment, but you'll have a lower cost. Now, what we do have at Swift, which I really advise a lot of drivers to look into, is our MRP program, which is a maintenance repair program, which think of this as like an aftermarket warranty that you would get on a used vehicle. So IEL would provide a warranty on that tractor that you're driving that is beyond its original manufacturer's warranty. So the original warranty is expired, and now we provide a warranty after that, which we cover at 80%. And then there are some components on the truck that we would cover at 100%. But it really, at Swift, what I love to say is we have a truck and a lease for you and for your situation. You just need to figure out what works for you.
Sounds like it's really about getting with that advisor, going over your unique situation, what your expectations are. They can lay out the expectations for you.
Yeah.
And then we decide, or we'll look to see if there's a lease that really matches your needs.
Absolutely. And what I'd mentioned too is one of the qualifications that we have before you become a lease owner operator or an independent contractor for Swift is we have a financial plan that we work with ATBS through. And that's going to just really give you a full detail of what your expenses will be as an independent contractor, including what are your personal expenses. And it's really going to show you what you can afford to do based on the averages across our country today on miles and costs. So that's just an average. You might get that back and it might be lower than you were expecting, but just know that if you are above average in your driving habits, then you're going to make above average off of that settlement.
Well, Trucker Dan is definitely dropping some messages in here. He said, first of all, to say hi to Brett, and he said he'll come see you on Monday or Tuesday.
Oh,
that's a good one.
Trucker Dan, yeah.
So Brian is asking the question, if I want to do a lease op, how easy is it to get out of it if I find out it's not for me?
Yeah, so there's terms that are thrown out there in today's world called walkaway leases. Swift is not one of those programs. We don't allow a walkaway. I want to compare it to similarly if you've ever rented an apartment or a house, right? You're signing an obligation with that business that this is the term that you're agreeing to, and this is the length of the term that you're going to stay with. Now, there are also options, where so long as the communication's there, we can work with you. If there's a situation that came up, we want to do what's best, and we don't want to, hold that against you necessarily. I just want to be honest with you. Like, you're signing a contract, you're agreeing to the terms of that contract. We offer many options between 1-year lease terms to 4-year lease terms.
So maybe you got to at least try it for a year. This is like no different than leasing a vehicle at a dealership for a car.
Exactly.
If you just go, hey, I don't like my Volvo that I leased, you can't really return it in 3 months.
Yeah, not without penalties. I mean, if you do return it, just like your example, returning that vehicle to a dealership, if you're going to return the vehicle in the same working condition as when you got it, and you aren't leaving with any payments, and we're working together, then yeah, there's a lot of negotiation there that we can work with.
So Tri-State is asking us, can I bring my own truck? So I think we know that answer is yes. And if so, what are the requirements?
Yeah, so great question. So yeah, please bring your own truck. The requirements is it needs to be newer than 2015, and we want it to pass obviously a full DOT inspection. If you have one recently that you have a federal inspection that you've completed, we can review that. But we want to run it through the shop and just make sure that your tractor is going to provide service for Swift, and not be, broken down and in the shop. So it's our biggest concern.
Definitely. There is a couple, like, no fear. Yes, you can call Brett tomorrow. He'll be here for you. There's a couple questions about people. It sounds like it's the states that we don't do business in, really.
Yeah.
And it's not a Swift decision. Obviously it is a Swift decision, but it was more of we'll say the government made the decision with us, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's where there's just questions around why.
Sure.
So,
and I think I'll just restate it in the fact that it's just difficult to operate in that business sense between an independent contractor and what their definitions are in those states.
mhm.
So
Here's one from Larry, who's one of our owners, and he said, "Are we looking at any kind of pay increases anytime soon?"
yeah, great question. What I will say is that I don't see any on the near horizon, but what I am very optimistic about is the fact that freight and miles and everything is starting to come back and improve. I mean, we are definitely seeing the bottom of freight was a few months ago, and we're climbing out of it. And as we're, seeing those increases and those opportunities from our customers, we have always given back to our drivers. So, I can.
So as the market bears,
Yeah.
we always are keeping our thumb on that.
And what I can say to you, and I'm not saying this is going to make you feel any better. I just can say personally, I have not received any increase this year as well. It's not just something that impacts our driving associates, it's the non-driving associates as well. And we're all in this together, and we hope that it changes on both sides.
And leadership's passionate about that, right?
Yeah.
So also, if somebody wanted to kind of go through and pencil it out with somebody, that would be your recruiters, right? So there's one that's talking about we need to see actual pay stubs. So if they wanted to mock up, say, hey, I think I can run 2,300 miles a week, and what's that look like compared to a MRP or a regular lease? That's all something that recruiter will work out with them and what they think the net would be, right?
And it's actually, so the provider is through ATBS. So you're going to have an interview with ATBS in a sense. I say interview, it's more of just a conversation. So they're going to go over your personal financials along with what Swift has been averaging and give you a full printout of what your profit and loss statement would look like for those averages. So you're going to see the financial picture before you start. And that's where you really want to spend the time there. That's something we pay for you to make the best decision. And it's also for us so that we are making the best decision. We have said no to many owners or many drivers that have attempted to be an independent contractor, but it just doesn't pencil out. If it doesn't make sense for you and your personal and your family, and it's not going to make sense for us as well.
And don't set somebody up for failure.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. The last thing we want is a default and for you to be struggling.
So this goes into, do lease operators have the ability to pick from loads?
Yes.
Great question.
Yeah.
So might as well transition a little into the load board, right?
Yeah, no, great transition. So we did launch the load board on April 3rd, and now we're into June, and we are seeing a ton of success through that. Close to 1 million miles were ran on the load board just last month in May, and we are getting a ton of positive feedback from it. That load board alone just gives you that full autonomy to review the loads that are available at Swift and in your area. And we are adding a new feature, which I wanted to mention, which will launch next week on the load board. And that feature, you'll now log in and be able to launch right into the map of the lower 48. And it will show you state by state where the loads are located. You can click then in the bubble and it will just list out the loads in that state. What I really want you to focus on there too is by making the best decision. If you are in Phoenix and you're considering taking a load to Denver, for example, then look at the map and see what loads are coming out of Denver, and if you're not seeing the right freight mix that you want for your business, then maybe don't take that load to Denver. But at the end of the day, and back to this person's question, you have the freedom to choose the loads you put on your truck. This is your business. But it goes back to, again, reminding you that you're a small business owner and you gotta keep the wheels turning to keep the business profiting. So I always encourage everyone, and I was able to sit by Douglas Harvey at the Million Mile event this year. He's a 3 million mile owner operator for us. And I asked him, like, what is your key to success? And he just said, honestly, I just run. I say yes to freight. I run the loads that are given to me. I like to see all the states, and I don't limit my business to a certain region or area or a certain load. And it
I,
works for him.
I think that's the message for all of our drivers out there right now is, hey, the market's a little bit different. The more you can do all the fundamental things, the blocking and tackling that we have in our business, right? And that would be setting a good PTA, showing up at that PTA on time, being open to accept all loads, right?
Yeah.
Know that we have a Hometime team and we've got planners that are specifically involved in getting you home to make sure that you take every load, go wherever, and then, set your home time. It used to be, well, it still is 7 days, but maybe because of the market a little bit, you go 14 days. Like, it's really just planning ahead and getting our drivers to their most important stop. But that, I think what Douglas said is the key. It's really being open to it. Hey, there's going to be those one or two places when I drove. There's definitely one or two places I'm like, hey, I never want to go back. But one or two places is different than, hey, I don't go half of the United States, right?
Totally.
So you're taking away a lot of potential when you start limiting those areas. So great point. Hey, I see some questions, and if our group could throw the 10 states back in there on the bottom that we don't do owner operator leases in, that'd be great. One of the questions is, if I'm a driver, why do I have to wait 9 months to be a lease owner?
Yeah, no, great question. So 9 months is for two reasons. One, we want to make sure you have this experience that is necessary to be a successful owner. Some might argue 9 months isn't enough, but what we found is that with 9 months, you're going to see more seasonality, not just with freight cycles, but you're going to see the seasons changing in the weather, right? So you got to have that experience in order to understand what are the variables that are going to impact your business. And also, 9 months is a great safety metric as well. We've seen that drivers with more than, or at least 9 months of recent driving experience are safer drivers. You're not having some of those silly mistakes we all made as new drivers, right? So it's the worst thing you can do or have, unfortunately, is just to be down in the body shop or in a shop because of an incident that you had or an accident. So those are primarily the two reasons.
Definitely. And then we've got Christopher Green. He's asking, I'm a new driver looking to get started. This isn't really an owner question, but you've been here long enough to answer this. No experience. Will I receive proper training and skills in maneuvering?
So so he's a brand new driver, just got a CDL.
Yes.
Yeah. So congratulations, first of all. I think you made the right decision. So Swift is going to provide, as a company driver, the best training, in my opinion. So you're not making the wrong decision there.
Here's a great comment from Kelly. There are some great trainers at Swift. Many of us will go out of our way to help if we see someone struggling. She's obviously an owner mentor, but that goes to No Fear's next question. It says, can I be a mentor and be an owner?
Yeah, so we do allow and have training consultants. So you're an independent contractor, training consultant at Swift. And so, through that program, you would be able to train. There are qualifications that need to be met, and we can review those with you. But that is an option. Yeah, we currently today have 240 training consultants at Swift.
Okay. And what about, can I be an owner on dedicated?
Yeah. Not every dedicated, and not every dedicated would work for you, but there are opportunities. Even just in grocery this morning, I was looking. There are currently 45 open opportunities that we're looking to fill.
Awesome. Here's one from Thomas. If a team is interested in going to OwnerOp, how does the excessive mile charge work? Last time we looked into it, it seems the charge is if you go over so many miles.
Yeah. No, great question. So there is an excess mileage charge that's attached to your lease agreement, and I'll go back to using a car lease program. Just the same, if I was to lease a car from a dealership, you're given a certain amount of miles per month or per year that you can drive, and anything over that then would be an additional charge. So 10,000 miles is the ceiling, and then anything over that would have an excess mileage charge. But what I would tell you
10,000 miles, is that for the month?
for the month.
For the month,
For the
okay.
month, yeah. So as a team, naturally, you're going to exceed that. But what I could show you, and I'd love to have a conversation with you, it comes down to the charge that you're going to pay for the miles, and the amount of revenue that you're going to receive far outweighs the charge. So yes, there's going to be a little bit more charge, but you're going to make way more revenue, and it's going to be worth your while. And I can calculate that, show you the calculator, and prove that to you in person. And the why behind that, just so you know, is just because you're depreciating that truck so quickly that it is not worth, just like if you were to go look at a brand new Dodge or a Dodge that's used, you're searching for tractors that are under a certain mileage point. Teams run a ton of miles. So no one's looking for a used team truck that just got put 600,000 miles on it. So they devalue a lot faster.
Excellent. You do have a new text number for recruiting. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so both for our Lease Advisor line and for our rapid response team, we have a new text feature, and we'd love to get that out. We should be able to stream it on the bottom of the page for you. And that's just an option for you. If you prefer not to call and you have the time, you're not driving, please text in. And that too allows us to attach pictures. You can attach pictures. Sometimes it's tough over the phone to explain what it is you're looking for. And so for you able to provide a picture and us to reply back to it, it helps. And I think we're just keeping up with the times there, right? I think a lot of folks are into texting now.
Excellent. There's some new enhancements coming soon. I think this had to maybe do with load board. Did we already kind of hit on that?
Yes.
It just was on my list, but
yeah, so that was the map feature coming
okay.
up. And we're excited. That should launch next Thursday.
Okay, so I'm out of lease. Oh, out of these. Okay, this guy's out of the Laredo terminal, but lives in New York. So is New York one of those states?
It is.
It is. So move to Laredo, right? If you're there.
Yeah, that's an option. Right?
That's a good deal right there.
Yeah, it's based on your residency and CDL location.
Okay. Let's see here. What are the requirements to qualify to get a dedicated run? Is there anything you have to qualify different, or is it the same as any other?
Yeah, I mean, number one, just know that most dedicateds, and we're in the service industry, right? I mean, dedicated is going to look at what is your service. If you're currently with Swift, what is your on-time service percentage? But other than that, it's really just you asking yourself, does this dedicated work for what it is you're looking for? Most dedicateds are going to offer, naturally just more home time if it's near your house, and some other benefits, but that's what I can think of for now.
Definitely. The messages from Christopher, I would just tell you to call one of our recruiters here at Swift, and we can walk through some of your questions as you have there. But otherwise, let's see here. Okay. Well, it looks like we've answered most of the questions. If it's a little bit shorter time, but again, we have an executive live coming up on Tuesday, I believe it, or sometime next week. I'm pretty sure it's Tuesday, but want to thank you for joining us. If you guys have other questions that come in, we'll try to answer those just in the chat messages back. But thanks for joining us, Brett, and it was great. And hey, good to know what opportunities we have here to be a lease owner, and we look forward in the future for you guys joining us. But
yeah, no, thanks for having me
on.
Right. Thank you all for your time.
Everybody be safe.